Thank you very much, Stephanie. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be here and to lose some words about that big data and metadata problem. I have been asked to place a sort of warning shot towards the problem of big data, telling you that it might be usable, but it is not usable for everything. You are going to listen to a sociological discourse, which doesn't mean that you're going to listen to a cultural criticism. So don't panic, just stay with me for about 20 minutes to listen to my argument. Metadata, I need this, oh yeah. What are metadata is my first question. And I start with telling you just the message, which will be, for me, the most important one today. The message will be, indeed, 40% of your behavior is predictable, but 60% is not. And I try to show you how content strategy might consist in getting that relationship between 40 and 60% right. So first slide, what are metadata? You see what they are. Metadata concerning the word metadata is just what the comic is showing you, a word with 8 letters. Or metadata concerning what we are talking about here might be a word like fascination or a word like inspiration. Anything which catches a whole bunch of data in one basket, so to speak, in order to place it, sort it, and even possibly forget it, is a metadatum. Yeah, metadata date from 1968 from a computer scientist named Baecker, who said any kind of data able to sort other data are metadata. So please forget, for an instant, this metadata wording we have now, which consists in talking about addresses, frequencies, directions of talk, connections of emailing, all sorts of connection data which our favorite secret services are so proud of to have. Metadata are this, talking in terms of network analysis, but metadata are any other kind of data as well. If you come here and say, we are listening to talks about content strategy, then content strategy is another metadatum for you to order, sort, and think about what's going on here. And the interesting thing is that big data ventured into a sort of metadata which indeed consists in trying to predict the behavior of people. And Alex Pentland from the MIT is currently the most, let's say, explicit and the most elaborate among those social scientists working on and with big data in order to find out how those attempts to predict your behavior actually work. And it's from him that I take this message that indeed he is able to succeed in 40% of all cases to predict what people are doing, surfing the web, using their mouse on the screen, buying some stuff, deciding on some action, and so on and so on. And what he is using for being able to do these predictions is a so-called influence matrix. The influence matrix, which I just for the fun of it pinned down over there, is telling you that the probability of the behavior, H, hidden behavior, the probability of a certain behavior of a certain person is depending on the probabilities of lots of behaviors of lots of other people of the same group. Yeah? The behavior of small c is depending on the behavior in previous instances of the group C with a capital. Yeah? So the hidden behavior is described by just looking at you and looking at the group you are moving in, and then looking at what people you are linked to, connected to, who are your peers and so on, did yesterday and the months before and the year before, and then to try to figure out what you are doing now and tomorrow. And that's a very simple thing. Yeah, you are able to to use lots of historical data to check whether this is right or not. And we are doing right now so-called machine learning things with coming up with historical data concerning lots of different kinds of behavior and trying to train those algorithms using the influence matrix in order to predict specific kinds of specific people in specific groups. That's what's possible, that's what is done, and that's all there is to it what armies and secret services and governments and universities and whoever, and churches, of course, might try in order to find out which kind of predictions concerning the behavior of their clients might be able or not. My argument now is that there is a certain thing which is important for you, I think, lacking. There is lacking the whole question of how is your actual behavior today not only dependent on what you and your peers and your group experienced yesterday, but also dependent on what you expect your possible future to be. And as you can divine already, those expectations, those anticipation of your future and the future of the people you are connected to is of an equal, at least equal influence to your behavior than your previous experiences. And I'd say, following still Axel Pentland, that those anticipations and expectations amount to those 60% of the behavior. How are we able to show that? Well, I changed the influence matrix into an action matrix, and I'm saying the probability of the hidden behavior of one person, small c, is dependent on the previous actions of all other people those person is connected to in previous times and in, sorry about that mistake, and in next times. Yeah? So the behavior now is dependent on past and on future. How are we? Because the problem now is that this is blowing apart all kinds of statistical attempts to describe the behavior. How are we going to account for that future, that anticipation, that expectation part of the behavior? Well, we have to come up with, I'm sorry to say so, with some sociological ideas concerning the behavior of human beings. And for now, we are only talking behavior of human beings, not behavior of robots or animals or other kinds of machines or what you have here. We are sticking with human behavior. There are a few things we can say about human behavior. First of all is human behavior has always a purpose. Yeah? If you don't have a purpose, you feel completely disoriented and you all of a sudden start to look around you for possible influence. So the purpose is the first thing which is selected by you. Yeah? A thing which might be predicted to 40% by your previous actions and the previous actions of the people you are connected to, but which is nevertheless a moment of decision, of choice, which is happening right now, right here, and only with you. In some, let's say, unpredictable, even intransparent, because hidden way, you are choosing a purpose to describe what you're doing and even to understand what you're doing. But this purpose is connected to the systems of this world, like the economic system, the political system, the art system, the business organization systems, and so on. You can't just come up with some purpose and continue it in order to fulfill what you expect. You have to account for the systems intervening in your purpose in order to describe your own behavior, to describe what you are able to do, in order to expect what it is possible for you to do. So the purpose is rationed or is broken by the systems you are intervening. You can't do with churches one thing, you can't do with business another thing, and you can't do with universities the third thing, but you cannot combine your purpose just with anything. So the question for a content strategist is, what kind of purpose have people in mind, and what kind of systems are they able to account for in order to describe their behavior and their expectations. A love purpose is completely different than a business purpose. A political purpose is completely different from an education purpose. How are, if at all, how are people able to account for those systems? Yeah, of course, just a way to describe that indeed it's a hidden variable which is able to describe the choice actually being taken because you don't know what purpose an individual is coming up with and what system that individual is able to account for. Yeah? Same applies to the question of the future. Yeah? Of course, you are anticipating your future. Of course, you are expecting what is going to happen to you. But what do you know about the future? Nothing. Yeah? Don't believe anybody telling you what the future is bringing to you. The future is and will ever be unknown. It is and will ever be unknown. And it's a trivial phrase, of course, to pronounce, but it's nevertheless true. And it's very important for the question we have here, because the very unknowability of future, yeah, in modern society at least, or in our society, is the very way we are necessitated, forced, and invited to connect to each other. Yeah? If you knew already what is happening on this conference yesterday, today, and tomorrow, you wouldn't need to come here. Yeah? If you knew already what everybody is saying who is attending this conference together with you, you wouldn't have to come here. It's the unknowability, the unknown future itself, which is attracting you to come here, which is attracting you to speak to your neighbor, which is attracting you to stay with us and stick with us those 3 days and wait for what is going to happen here. So the sociological idea is that there is something in that unknowability of the future which is even able to integrate your behavior with all other behaviors of the people surrounding you. Yeah? Imagine a business where you know what the markets are going to bring to you. Yeah? You wouldn't be able to do any market research. You wouldn't be able to do any content strategy. You would just do it, planning it, realizing it, and then suffering the consequences. Yeah? Business consists in dealing with an unknown future. Yeah? Like the Christian soul consists in dealing with the unknown future of God eventually having mercy or not. Yeah? Like the lover is dealing with the unknown future of the loved one, possibly complying with the love or possibly stepping out. So the unknowability of the future is focal for the integration and coordination of modern society's individuals and is in the center what turns your behavior unpredictable and what turns your variable age a hidden one. That future, of course, nevertheless, is subject to what I call evolution. Yeah, there are some things you can know about your future. For instance, whatever will happen to you in the next moment will be selected by others as a thing of interest or not. Yeah? So there are not just events blown out in the world, there are those events addressed by others, found interesting, enforced, suppressed, or whatever, evolution acting always on the future, on the present events, and turning some futures you anticipated into a actual present, and avoiding other futures to actually happen. So you have purpose, and system, and future, and evolution, and of course the whole complexity of behavior in the environments we are dealing with as determinants of those 60% of behavior which are, for these very reasons, unpredictable. Yeah? The future is unknown, T+1 is unknown. The group you are connecting to is fluctuating. You never know exactly who is going to act towards you, who is strengthening your ideas, who will be countering your ideas. Yeah? Some people are stepping in, some other people are going out. So the probability which you are interested in, the probability of all this action matrix actually is unknown, or let's say so, it's amounting to those 60% of unpredictability. Now, what does that mean in any, let's say, positive way of dealing with the problem of content strategy? Don't be frightened. Yeah? It's explicitly looking frightening, so you can just select another metadatum like bullshit, for instance, yeah, in order to to get it, take it, to sort it, and to put it away. Or you can take another metadatum like fascination or inspiration or nice idea, yeah, in order to look at it and then find your own position toward the arguments I'm presenting to you. What I'm trying to say is we actually need, for any kind of content strategist dealing with the problems and the complexity of the world, a metadata matrix. We need this knowledge that indeed our historical data of behavior make us predictable to 40% of our behavior. That's not to be taken away. We need an understanding of the action of people in any moment is an action not to be determined by anybody else than those persons acting. Any kind of constraint, any kind of force, any kind of domination, of course, counted in that. Even if you have domination, you don't know how people dominated act toward that domination in the next moment. Even if you have brute force, you don't know how other people looking at that brute force being executed will deal with you being the executor. So there is no real, let's say, physical way to step out of that unpredictability. And what I'm trying to say is you need some kind like a calculus of limits. Yeah? If those 60% of behavior are unpredictable, and if those 40% of behavior are indeed predictable, then what might be an argument explaining the actual mixture for your business, your content, your strategy? Yeah? And the idea is a limit or some kinds of limits are telling you what to expect. And what I'm now trying to say is that indeed all of you sitting here have those limits already inhalated, already internalized, already realized by being living members of our society. Which means you know about purpose, about ends, means, failure, the structure of relating ends with new means. You know implicitly, that kind of system one knowing that Daniel Kahneman is talking about. You know about systems, about your body, about your mind, about your brain, about certain kinds of social behavior, socializing and not socializing behavior. You know about culture in some vague terms. You know about technologies and so on. And all those other variables in this matrix, this meta matrix, are of the same kind. You know about them implicitly, intuitively. They are, let's say, the sociological explication of your gut feelings, and you use them in order to judge the probability of certain things happening concerning that freedom area of 60%. You know about institutions, of course. You know that people bound by kinship are going to act differently than people bound by markets. You know, of course, about media. A phrase brought forward in terms of truth is something other than a phrase brought forward in terms of education. You know all that. And even if you never heard a sociological thinking like that, you can tell apart a sentence trying to seduce you from a sentence trying to force you. You know instantly, aha, the context is different, my possibility to react are different, the prospect of this behavior becoming successful is different, and you somehow come up with an intuitive way to judge the probability of the success of a certain behavior. Of course you know about all kinds of meaning. That actually is what you're going any day. You mix and you deconstruct and you couple and you decouple, you switch, shift, blur, mash your meaning in order to combine all those other terms of this meta matrix with each other in order to come up with a certain content to be strategically serious about. And that's what's going to happen. You have to be sure about what kind of observer you are concerning your own actions to be chosen. And you have, and that's my perhaps most important message, you have to be sure about the observers you are dealing with. Even a secret service like the NSA is not producing a universally valid knowledge. They have their very specific meta matrix in order to sort out possible kinds of terrorist actions. Yeah? Even Amazon doesn't produce a universal knowledge. They have their very specific meta matrix trying to sort out consumer behavior. Yeah? So metadata, which are able to sort big data, are telling us that the world indeed is not described generally in valid terms for everybody, but concerning very specific actors, very specific observers, concerning very specific knowledge, mixing that unpredictable kind of combination of those meta matrix terms with your own historically dependent behavior. Which means in all kinds of metadata, able to deal with big data, ask for metadata that let you correct your expectations of your observer's behavior. Which means, first, be clear what you're looking at. Try to give an algorithm, even an implicit algorithm, for the expectations you have concerning your behavior and the behavior of who you are interested in. And second, try to come up with some reflexive knowledge which is able to look at you doing your predictions and correct those predictions with respect to better possibilities. If you are able to seek out metadata which are able to correct your expectations, then I think you are in a good way to become a content strategist, viewed from a sociological perspective. Thank you very much.